Hey, I'm Regan, and I'm in Summer Ray.
Hello, Regan. So nice for you to join us today. So, today I just want to dig into your life a little bit. Just want to see what Regan has gone through and what has made Regan the woman she is today. So, tell me a little bit about you growing up.
Me growing up. So I grew up in a small town in Newton, Alabama. I grew up. I had a stable family. I grew up with my mom and my dad. My dad was in the military for the first few years of my life, so I was just with my mom. And my mom's an artist. So, and she's the type of person to always do her own thing. So most of the time I'll be alone. I was always alone. I remember like at 4 years old, I would walk around Newton. Like I would walk up to the gas station, and I would go in my backyard a lot and play. Like I like to play with dogs. And then if there were any other kids around, I would talk to them and stuff. Maybe I wasn't 4, but a little bit older than that at a young age. Let's see. And then I remember I really wanted a sibling because I was always alone. I had a deep feeling of aloneness. So I would go out each night and I would pray, or I would look at the stars and wish that I could get a sibling. And then it took until I was 7 years old. My mom and dad were going to adopt a kid. They were in the adoption process, but then my mom finally got pregnant with my sister in London. And then, let's see, then she came into the picture and I helped raise her a little bit and things like that. And yeah, let's see. So I was always a good kid until about middle school. I would say that's when I started to kind of go off and do my own thing. And I think that's just because my parents, my family, they're LDS Mormon, and that religion got pushed on me a lot. And I didn't like that. Like I always wanted to do what I wanted to do. I don't like someone telling me, oh, this is the right way. I didn't want to listen to anybody else. I thought my way was the right way. So, like boys were a no-no. Like we don't talk about boys. You don't have a boyfriend until you're 16, and you can go on a group date. But besides that, you won't talk to boys. You don't do any of that. So I don't know. It made me like feel really insecure. Like, and I saw other people, they could talk to boys and stuff like that and have relationships. But I couldn't do that. And I was a people pleaser. I wanted to please my parents, make them proud of me. So I tried to be the best that I could be. But then when I got into middle school, you're going through puberty and stuff, and I like boys. I wanted to have a boyfriend, and I would go behind their backs and text people, and try to do whatever they told me. Whatever they told me to do, I wanted to do the opposite. So that's what I did pretty much. And then it just led to a whole bunch of other things. And I think that's just because of my insecurity with wanting to please them, but I feel like I was never good enough.
Do you feel like that you had like a good choice in men, boys?
Well, okay, so at first I did at first. But like the good boys, who people would say are good, they never liked me. They liked preppy girls. I wasn't really preppy. I didn't know how to be something else. I was just me. They never liked me. They bullied me. They picked on me and stuff. So then whenever someone else would give me attention that wasn't a good boy, I was like, hey, like, yeah. So I started liking anything that gave me attention. Yeah. Yeah. So, pretty much that led to me in the ninth grade. In the ninth grade, at the end of ninth grade, there was a guy who he texted me on Facebook, and then I saw him at school, and he was like, hey, why didn't you text me back? And I was like, ooh, like, he wants me to text him back. So I was so excited that someone wanted me to text him. So I went home and I texted him, and then, we started linking up every day after school. And he came from a totally different environment than I did. Way different than I did.
Like what?
Like he grew up, his home was not stable. It was not stable like my home. He grew up in the streets, pretty much. I didn't grow up in that, but I didn't care. I didn't care what someone came from. I always saw people for them. I tried to see the good in people. I didn't care about all that. So, I started going to the streets. That's where he was at. And then that's where I started seeing a lot of things I've never seen before.
Like, how do you think, well, for one, the first question is, how long did you start going out into that environment? How long would you say? A couple months or?
Let's see, 2017, about a year.
Okay.
About a year.
So how did that start affecting your today life, and how did that affect you when you started going home?
Well, okay, so at first I would literally go on a different bus and I'd bring me over there. Or sometimes I would just walk because the school was right next to where he stayed at. So I would walk over there and my parents would be like, "Where are you at?" And I wouldn't answer, like, I'm at a trap house, like, don't bother me. So they were always worried about me and stuff, and like I felt really bad because I wanted to please them. But I just didn't care anymore. I was done trying to please them. I wanted to do what I would think would make me happy. I wanted to be happy. So I thought that this would make me happy. I thought going to hanging out with these other people, because they all got to do what they wanted to do. They didn't have strict parents. So I'm like, hey, they're free. I want to be free with them. And I would just see people like, they would be on drugs and stuff. They would just be drinking a lot. People would be fighting, like, people would be doing having dogs fight. It'd be all types of stuff that I'd just never seen before. And a part of me, I didn't really feel comfortable with it, but I was going with it. I was like, whatever. Anyways, so then I would sneak out of my house. I would jump. My room was on the second floor. I would jump out of my window, and then I would catch a ride from somebody, and then I'd bring me down to where he was at. And I did that for months, until 8 months of us being together. I found out I was pregnant. I was 15 years old, and I didn't think I could get pregnant. My parents never taught me about that. All I know is they told me don't have a boyfriend. They didn't tell me why. So when I was 15, I was pregnant, and he told me right before I found out I was pregnant. He was like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna be pregnant," and I was like, "What the fuck?" So I mean, cuss. But so then I found out I was pregnant, and then I found out at school actually. My friend brought me a pregnancy test because I felt like nauseated. Even though I didn't know what pregnancy symptoms were, I felt like I could be pregnant. Yeah. I had that instinct that I knew. So anyways, my friend brought me a pregnancy test. I took it at school, and then I had her read it, and it was like, she's like, "Yeah, you're really pregnant. Like the lines are dark." So then I don't know how, but everyone found out after that. Bro, the whole school knew. The whole school knew I was pregnant, and I was just like, I didn't even care. I was excited. Yeah. I was happy. I was like, yes, like, cause I kind of had that dumb mindset, like, oh, I can keep him now. That childish mindset. So then, then that same day I had to tell my mom, and that was crazy. We were in the car, and I tried to break it down to her. I was like, oh, I've been making bad decisions, and it led to this. And she just pretty much stopped the car, and she was like, "We're going to the bishop." That's the pastor. And I was like, man, come on. So, and I was just I didn't really care. I was like, whatever. So I did care, but I had numbed myself so much. I didn't really care. So then she brought me to the church that night, and I hadn't even really had time to process this,
Yeah, you just found out.
Yeah, I just found out. So, and then he was like, okay, let's look at our options. So I was like, okay. And
is the bishop telling you this?
The bishop, yeah. Okay. And then he was just like...
Is that normal for them to to kind of guide somebody in times like that?
don't know. A lot. There weren't. In our church that doesn't happen a lot.
Oh.
People are just. I'm starting to get out of this mindset, but a lot of people don't do that. They're pretty on the straight path. They don't do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think he's ever dealt with that type of situation before. So he gave me a couple options. He was like, you know, these are your options. And he told me like the best options. He's like, yeah, abortion. That's really not. We don't really believe in that. You probably shouldn't do that. And I didn't really want to do that anyways. And then he was like, you can keep the baby or you can do an adoption. And I wanted to keep my baby. I was like, I want to keep my child pretty much. And they were like, well, you're only 15. You don't have a job. Like the baby dad, he's not really the most stable person. So it would be best if we find someone else. And I was just like, man, what? Like I hated that. So, but I felt like there's nothing I could do really. I was only 15 and all these grown-ups are telling me I can't keep my kid. So yeah, then we went back home and I tried to talk with my mom and dad like for the next couple months if I could keep her. I tried to tell them I would get a job, I would do whatever I had to do. They told me I couldn't live at their home if I were to keep her, and I didn't have nowhere else to go. Like I didn't really have a lot of family around, and they weren't gonna let me in either. So then my mom texted my aunt and asked her if she would want to adopt my daughter, and she was like yes. And I didn't even know about this until I read the messages on her phone. Like I would go on her Facebook and stuff and read that stuff, and I found that out, and I was pissed off. So then about 5 months into the pregnancy, I had to move to Utah because the relationship I was in, it was abusive. So I moved to Utah with my aunt and uncle and their family because that's where they lived at. And then I gave birth to her, Brooklyn, my daughter, in Utah. And it was like, that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever been through. I remember I'm in the hospital and I gave birth, and then my aunt came in there and she got to hold, like everyone was in there, and I really didn't, I wish that I could have had more time with her by myself, but I understand that they wanted to see her birth as well. So anyways, then I did get to have that night with Brooklyn, and I got to breastfeed her and stuff like that. And then the next day it was time, I was good to go. I didn't have any tearing. It was like a perfect birth. So I had to watch her go in their car. I saw them put her in the car seat, and I wanted to do that, but I didn't get to do that. So they put her in her car, their car, and then me and my mom walked out and went in our car. Then we went to Target afterwards, and I saw this baby stuff. I would just start bawling my eyes out, man. Bruh. I cried for 3 days straight. Like I didn't eat. I cried all night, all day, all night, all day, all night, all day. And then it was time for me to go home. I drive home, man. It was so sad. Anyways, and then my parents enrolled me in a Christian school, and then I started going to that. I came home.
Yeah, I remember. I think all three of us have been to that same school. Emmanuel, I remember meeting you and you telling me that you had your daughter, and she's a very beautiful baby, very beautiful girl.
Yep. And so then let's see. I was doing like I feel like I changed a lot.
Yeah,
I didn't really want to talk to my baby dad anymore. I didn't really want to talk to him anymore at that point, but I would still go and see him sometimes because I felt like that he could understand what I was going through. But I don't know if he ever understood really. I just wanted someone to understand me. Anyways, so I also forgot to mention, like the whole time throughout my pregnancy, I told myself this won't bother me because everyone told me like this is going to be really hard. This is going to bother you. I'm like, man, no, it's not. Like, I'm not letting this bother me. So I tried to like really like push that down as much as I possibly could. But then let's see, about a year after giving her up, I started to really feel those emotions. They started to really come out. I couldn't hide it anymore. I started getting like really bad anxiety. Like I couldn't go out at all. If I saw babies cry, like I couldn't move. I was traumatized. Yeah. I hated seeing people pregnant. I was jealous of them. Like especially young moms. Like how come they can have their kid and I can't have mine? Like anyways, so that happened. And then that led to me, I went to the dentist one day. I was doing a root canal. He did a root canal, and he wasn't able to finish the root canal, so he prescribed me some hydrocodone. And I was like, ooh, I like how this makes me feel. Like, I feel good. I had, all these positive thoughts flowing in my head. And so then, ever since then, whenever I would see hydrocodone, codone, I want that. So I started getting on that stuff. My grandma would have it, and I would tell her my toothache, so she would give me some. And then
you started becoming addicted to those things.
Right. And then my mom gave me some like anxiety medicine, like Klonopin, to help me with my depression and anxiety. And then I liked those made me fall asleep, and I wanted to just be asleep. I don't want to be awake.
Yeah.
So I would take those as much as I could just to be asleep. And then I ran out of those, and the doctor wouldn't prescribe me like anything good. So I would go on Snapchat or whatever and find people that were selling Xanax or anything like that. And I started taking those, and most of them were fake. They had fentanyl in them and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like getting pretty strung out. I was really strung out. And so then I decided I need to go to rehab. Like no one even noticed, bro. Like my parents, no one really noticed like that I was even strung out, which that really bothered me. Like they noticed that something was wrong with me, but they didn't know it was that. So I told them, I was like, can y'all bring me to rehab? I can't drive. I had just done a fentanyl Xanax. Like I can't drive out there. So they took me to rehab. It was above Atlanta.
Yeah, I remember you going there.
Yeah, and I went there for 30 days, and it really changed.
You really liked it up there.
Yeah, like it really changed my mindset. I kind of got out of that victim mindset, because I used to have like this victim mentality, like, oh, like how could this happen to me? But like I didn't realize that I was the one who made that choice, to have sex at a young age. So that's what happened. That was a consequence of that action.
Yeah.
So anyways, they helped me to kind of get out of that mindset, and that's when I learned like the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, the courage to change things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So.
You think all that changed you, like, and gave you a positive mindset? Like, how long did that last? The positive mindset.
No, the positive mindset is okay, bro. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
I don't hear them people.
It's okay. But the positive mindset that still lasts until today. Now, when after I got out of rehab, I decided to move to Utah, because in rehab they teach you like don't go around the same places, the same people.
Person, places, and things. Yeah.
Right. So I was like, I'm gonna move. So I was like, gonna be closer to my daughter. Like I'm gonna move. So I moved to Salt Lake City, Utah. My mom drove out there with me in my car, and she flew back home. And I was in a sober home with like other girls, and I was in that for about a month. And then about a month into that, I was like, I'm about to get my own apartment. So I was working at a hotel, and I was able to get my own apartment. And then that's when you moved up there. And then I was clean for 5 months. It wasn't that long. No, I didn't know it was that long. Nah. Let's see, December, January, February, March, April, about 3 or 4 months. And then we had met a dude, and oh, sorry. It'd be so crazy thinking about this stuff, man. Anyway, so then he introduced, I think both of us. Was it the first time for you too?
Wait, what?
Cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I never done cocaine. So he introduced us to cocaine, and I was just like, even though I've been clean for a minute, I never done cocaine. I was like, I feel like I had so much freedom. I was in a new state, no parents, and even
felt like you could do whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah, and even though I knew all the stuff that the rehab taught me, I still hadn't handled all my past, traumas and that emotional trauma that I hadn't dealt with.
You think that's why, like, you gravitated to not as stable of people, is because you didn't deal with those traumas, or did you ever even know that you needed to deal with those things?
Yeah, I knew, and I feel like I gravitated towards unstable people because I couldn't fix myself, so I wanted to fix other people.
Yeah, I hear you.
I wanted to fix other people. So then I realized I could never fix them. Anyways, then I started doing cocaine. I got kind of strung out on cocaine for about 5 months. I lost the apartment a couple months later because I couldn't keep a job. And then I moved into my aunt and uncle's house, another aunt and uncle, and then they kicked me out because they could tell, you know. And then I was like, man, I guess I'm gonna go home. Like this ain't working out. So then I went home, and I've been back here since 2021.
Has it been more positive since you've been back to Dothan?
Yes.
What's changed? Like, what have you done differently to not repeat those things of the past that you don't like?
Right. So, like, first of all, let me say this. The only way I got through Utah, like, because there were times, I didn't have any food, no food at all. I really didn't have any friends. My family, I didn't really want to talk to them because I know I wasn't living right.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anything, but I was still very happy. I was able to still be very happy, and that's only because of God. I felt like God really just kept a peace inside of me and kept me going and just showed me things that I did have that I could be grateful for. I could go home. You still have a home, you know. You do have food. It's not what you want to eat. It's not as good as you want to eat. Like, you have a car. You're blessed, Regan. So anyways, but then when I came home, I started to really dig in deeper to myself. I started listening to all kinds of different people online that I found that looked peaceful. I started actually finally listening to other people.
Yeah, who's one of those people you would look up to?
There were some yogis and stuff that I like to listen to, like Sai Guru.
Yeah.
Because he seemed really peaceful to me, and I wanted to have that sense of peace. So I started listening to people like him, and then just other people, people that just seem happy. I've always listened to Kevin Gates interviews. He always seems like a happy person. Well, now he's changed a lot. Anyways, and then let's see. So I started doing meditations really deeply. I started praying more. I started writing down my feelings every night. And I would still kind of go hang out with stupid people that weren't really doing the same thing as me. I would still hang out with people like that. And then I did have a couple relapses, just a couple times, but it never got to the point. It would be for a couple of days or one day, and then I would get back on track.
Hey, that's all it's about, is when you fail at something, just try and try again. Don't give up. Right.
And yeah, I was pretty much, I haven't done cocaine though. I've been clean off cocaine since Utah. It was just pills, perks. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, and then I was really focusing on my business with making clothes. I used to make clothes, and I was I was really doing my thing with that. I love doing that. And then, let's see. Yeah, I did that. And then,
what's been the most positive thing since you've been back that you've experienced that you want to share to other people?
Most positive.
It could be experience, could be just something you heard from somebody, like a motivational quote or something, or experience, something you've been through that just made you have a real positive outlook on things. It kind of stuck with you through the hard times lately.
I think. Honestly, I would just have to say, love. Just being a loving person, and just understanding that people don't take everything so personally. If someone does something that you think is wrong to you, or they hurt your feelings, most of the time it's not about you. It has nothing to do with you. It's about them and how they feel inside and their perspective on things. And I always had this mindset like, oh man, like they betrayed me. Like I don't trust anybody. Everyone betrayed me and did me wrong.
Yeah.
Like so I hardened myself as a self-protective mechanism. But then I just realized, like I made mistakes too. I've probably betrayed people too. Who am I to judge?
Yeah.
And then I just learned to forgive people. I forgave my aunt because the one that has my daughter, because I felt like they kind of did some things that really hurt me. I forgave my mom for things that she's done. I forgave everybody who's ever betrayed me. And I just try to move out of a place of love for everybody.
Yeah, it's really humble. It'll take you really far.
Right. I just got out of that victimized mindset. I don't think like that anymore. We're all just human, and I don't know. We're all not. Everyone, like, people aren't to their fullest intellectual or emotional intelligence. You might not meet people when they're there yet. So you're only seeing a part of them, and you can't judge them because they haven't reached their full growth. Because I might haven't reached mine yet either. Then you might see that person again, and then maybe we'll be on the same. I don't know where I'm trying to go with this.
I know what you mean.
So yeah,
Same path.
So I just try to be less judgmental. I'm not perfect, and just I stopped trusting so much in myself. I still believe in myself and have confidence and trust my gut, but I trust in God because His way is stable. My way, I'm up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
So I can only trust something that doesn't change.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Regan, for being with us today. And I love your story. It's definitely beautiful. I love hearing it. I'm so happy to see how far you've come. I'm proud of you as well.
Thank you.